Ooh, Chavo! Chavito Heat! Los Chavito has got some legit heat, it looks like, with Rey Mysterio. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. And this one kind of shocked me, so I had to make a video on it. Chavo Guerrero says, "We are tired of people prostituting the family name for their benefit." When you hear that, it almost sounds like a promo, but no, he was actually being legit. He was doing some sort of like live video call, like an interview, and basically came out and launched an attack on people continuously using Eddie Guerrero's name to try and get themselves over, to try and benefit from the name of Eddie Guerrero, the Guerrero name, and he literally called out Rey Mysterio. So, I mean, I thought this was very harsh. I don't understand why Chavo Guerrero just basically attacked Rey Mysterio like this. I think it's very harsh, and it's a little bit ironic that Chavo is accusing people of using the name of Eddie Guerrero to try and get over for their advantage when, I mean, let's be honest, would anybody really had cared about Chavo if it wasn't for Eddie either? So we'll get into that in a minute, but this is what Chavo Guerrero said. So he was doing a virtual signing with Captain's Corner. I guess it's some guy that likes wrestling. So Chavo Guerrero was doing signings virtually on a camera, and at the same time, I guess he was doing an interview. And this is what he said about Eddie Guerrero. Quote, "I gotta tell you this. I just don't understand why Rey Mysterio still has to. Look, we all love Eddie Guerrero, but we're not going out with his gimmick and our gimmick. It was Los Guerrero's gimmick, and come out with Los Guerreros. We lie, we cheat, we steal, and everybody's like, oh yeah, keeping Eddie's memory alive. I say, no dude. I'm tired of people, and this is not a bitter thing. This is the truth. We worked hard for that last name. This whole family worked really, really hard to get that name to where it is and where it was. And we're tired of people prostituting it, in a sense, and using it for their benefit. So Rey Mysterio, I'm sorry that no one knows who Rey Mysterio Sr. is. Rey Mysterio Jr., no one knows who he is. And I'm sorry you have to latch on to the Guerrero family. And we're just kind of tired of it. Thank you for keeping Eddie's name alive. Thank you for keeping the Guerrero name alive. But we don't need you. We're good. You know what I'm saying? End of quote. So how the hell do you unpack that? First of all, Rey Mysterio, I don't understand it. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, obviously very, very close. Rey Mysterio paid homage to Eddie Guerrero in his Hall of Fame speech. And for Chavo, I mean, to come out and say this, it's like below the belt, and this is poor. This is really, really poor in my opinion. This is uncalled for from Chavo Guerrero. I don't think Rey Mysterio has done anything wrong. Now, he's talking about prostituting his name, and I get it that they brought up Eddie Guerrero in the Dominic storyline, but it makes sense. Back in the day, Eddie Guerrero was in a storyline with Dominic, and they were doing the whole thing that Dominic could be Eddie's son, and Eddie was pretending that he was the real dad. So, are you telling me it's okay to use that in a storyline when it benefits a Guerrero? But when they want to mention it 15 years later, or whatever, 18 years later, they're not allowed to, just because, unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero has passed away. I'm not buying that whatsoever. It's not like they're just desperate for attention and they're trying to name grab by just throwing Eddie Guerrero's name out there. No, it makes perfect sense with how Dominic is annoyed at his father and he calls him a deadbeat dad. It would make perfect sense for Dominic to bring this up and speak about how, you know, he wishes Eddie was his real dad. I don't see that as trying to latch on to the Guerrero name at all. I definitely don't see that at all. Now, Chavo talks about this Guerrero, the Los Guerreros gimmick was we lie, we cheat, and we steal. I mean, not really. That was Eddie Guerrero's gimmick. Chavo latched onto that. When he started teaming with Eddie, Chavo just basically took Eddie Guerrero's gimmick and he kind of joined in and they made it like a dual thing. But it was Eddie Guerrero that came up with that shit first. It was Eddie Guerrero's gimmick and Chavo just kind of got paired with Eddie and then they came with that whole lie, cheating and stealing thing. And then Chavo talks about how Rey Mysterio's dad, nobody knows who Rey Mysterio Sr. is. I mean, first of all, that's pretty disrespectful. I mean, it might kind of be true, but it's still, what has Rey Mysterio Sr. done? What has he done to piss off Chavo? Absolutely nothing. But then Chavo talks about how Rey Mysterio Sr., nobody knew who he is, so Rey Mysterio Jr. doesn't need to latch on to Eddie Guerrero. And he's saying that as if Eddie Guerrero is like, a past generation from Rey Mysterio, and that Rey Mysterio is latching on to, a different family from a past era rather than his own, and that's not the case at all. Rey Mysterio came up with Eddie Guerrero. Rey Mysterio feuded with Eddie Guerrero. You could say without Eddie Guerrero, there's no Rey Mysterio, and you could maybe argue without Rey Mysterio, there is no Eddie Guerrero. So, again, it makes sense. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio are probably their biggest rivals of all time. It makes sense for Rey Mysterio to acknowledge Eddie Guerrero. It doesn't make any sense for Chavo to attack Rey like this. And another thing, Chavo's making it out as if the Guerrero name is some special name and that Rey Mysterio Sr. is an absolute nobody. Let's be honest. The Guerrero name was built on Eddie Guerrero. Before Eddie Guerrero, nobody cared about the other Guerrero. They just didn't, okay? Hector Guerrero, Chavo's dad, nobody gave a shit. Colon, what was his name? I can't even remember his name. But nobody cared about the Guerreros. The Guerreros, I don't know what they were like in Mexico. Maybe they had a decent standing in Mexico, but in terms of America, mainstream, the Guerreros were nothing really until Eddie came along on the scene. So it's not like Rey Mysterio's ripping off a whole family, like he's having to bring up this whole family name to try and get over. Rey Mysterio is already over, and all he's done is literally mention his deceased best friend a couple of times. He done it in the Hall of Fame speech. He did it, obviously with Dominic and the whole Eddie's your real father. But again, Chavo Guerrero was perfectly okay with feuding with Rey Mysterio. I remember Chavo and Rey had that feud, and Chavo was annoyed that Rey Mysterio was basically the one that got the Rumble. And so Chavo Guerrero thought it was perfectly okay to use Eddie Guerrero's name when it benefited him. But now that he's not in the company, now that he's not employed, I think he's even been released from AEW. Now he's bitching here and attacking Rey Mysterio. And I think this is pathetic here for Chavo. Again, it's not like Rey is constantly bringing up Eddie Guerrero every single week. No, he doesn't fucking do that. He brought him up at the Hall of Fame, and then I think Dominic's mentioned him a few times during this feud because he wishes Eddie was his dad because Rey apparently, storyline is a deadbeat dad. So for Chavo to get pissed about this and to pretend that somehow him and Eddie are equals and that the Guerreros are this massive name and that the Mysterios are nothing, I mean, no. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, they're the two draws. They're the two guys that got over. They are the two fucking stars. And everyone else in the family are just kind of there. It is what it is. Yeah, nobody really knows Rey Mysterio Sr. and Dominic Mysterio is kind of only relevant because of his dad. But you could say the same about the rest of the Guerrero family. Chavo only ever got relevant because of Eddie, and nobody really cared about the Guerreros, whether it be Hector or Gory or whatever. Nobody cared about those guys, really, until Eddie came along. Eddie was the main Guerrero. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I think Chavo is definitely in the wrong here. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of stuff happening, of course. They've also got those allegations with Eddie's daughter against Vicky's husband as well. So the Guerrero family, I guess, is all over the place at the moment. But I thought this was really, really poor from Chavo to come out and just attack Rey Mysterio like this, who's done absolutely nothing wrong. So, again, it does. It sounds like It sounds like a storyline. This sounds like something you'd expect Chavo to come out to the ring and say, he's like turning heel or whatever. This doesn't sound, but this is legit. He actually legit must feel this way to bring it up during a virtual, signing or whatever. So, yeah, Chavo, in my opinion, thumbs down for me. Can't believe he's come out and basically said this about Rey Mysterio. I don't think we'll get a response from Rey. I think Rey is, too big to. I think Ray's the bigger man. I don't think he would respond down to this sort of attack for Chavo. But again, like, Ray's done nothing wrong. Chavo's acting like he owns Eddie Guerrero. He owns the Guerrero name. I mean, maybe Eddie Guerrero would like people to keep his memory alive. You know, it's not up to Chavo to decide who gets to mention Eddie Guerrero and who gets to pay tribute and who gets to pay homage to Eddie Guerrero and who doesn't. So, yeah, just my thought, guys. I mean, there's a lot of people that obviously view Eddie Guerrero as a favourite wrestler and people can pay homage and whatever, but for Rey Mysterio, the guy is literally, he's not latching onto the Guerrero name. He's not using Guerrero to get over. Rey Mysterio is already over, and Eddie was just as important to Ray's career as Ray was to Eddie's. So I don't understand this from Chavo, but whatever. Chavo's entitled to think what he wants. He's a grown man, but for me, he's dead wrong in this, and I don't know. I guess Chavo and Rey Mysterio aren't friends, or I doubt they'll be friends after this, or there's going to be some bad blood or something between them, because it's really, really poor for Chavo to come out and attack Ray like that. So yeah, guys, that's it. Let me know your thoughts down below. I will catch you in the next one, and until then, until next time, rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. Peace.